We all live in this bubble. What you gotta do to get the life that God wants you to have, you gotta put more air in your bubble. You got to blow your bubble up. Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. Do not live in your bubble. Put some more air in your bubble. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful. Start putting some pressure on. Put some pressure on yourself. Get out here and get about it. Look, I'd love to sugarcoat this thing for you. I'd love to tell you, look, you can go out here and get rich, do a couple of things. That ain't happening. You got to get real doggish. You got to get downright funky if you want to make it. Now, like I was telling you before, if you want to be ordinary, you ain't even got to listen to me. Just go on about your business. If you think ordinary's cool, ain't no problem. It's some really, really wonderful ordinary people. But if you are sitting in this room and you have extraordinary aspirations, then you're gonna have to do extra. You put extra on top of ordinary and you come up with extraordinary. It's no other way.
So as that one dream was ending, another was beginning. And then what was a cute hobby became my full-time job when I lost my marketing job in 2010. But it still took me 2 more years to say, I'm a writer. 9 years after I started writing before I said, I'm a writer, because I was afraid of what happens without 401ks, without, how am I gonna keep up my shoe habit? That's important to me. So it took me that long to own this thing. That was what my purpose was. And then I realized fear has a very concrete power of keeping us from doing and saying the things that are our purpose. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let fear rule my life. I'm not gonna let fear dictate what I do. And then all these awesome things started happening and dominoes started to fall. So when I realized that, I was like, okay, 2015, I turned 30. It's gonna be my year of do it anyway. Anything that scares me, I'm gonna actively pursue it. So I'm a Capricorn. I like my feet solidly on the ground. I decided to take my first ever solo vacation, and it was out of the country to the Dominican Republic. So on my birthday, what did I do? I went ziplining through the forest of Punta Cana. And for some odd reason, I had on business casual. Don't ask why. And I had an incredible time. Also, I don't like being submerged in water. I like to be, again, on solid ground. So I went to Mexico and swam with dolphins underwater. And then the cool thing that I did also that year that was my mountain was I wrote my book, I'm Judging You the Do Better Manual. And I had to own that whole writing thing now, right? Yes. But the very anti-me thing that I did that year that scared the crap out of me, I went skydiving. We're about to fall out the plane. I was like, I've done some stupid things in life. This is one of them. And then we come falling down to earth, and I literally lose my breath as I see earth. And I was like, I just fell out of a perfectly good plane on purpose. What is wrong with me? But then I looked down at the beauty, and I was like, this is the best thing I could have done. This is an amazing decision. And I think about the times when I have to speak truth. It feels like I am falling out that plane. It feels like that moment when I'm at the edge of the plane, and I'm like, you shouldn't do this. But then I do it anyway because I realize I have to. Sitting at the edge of that plane and kind of staying on that plane is comfort to me. And I feel like every day that I'm speaking truth against institutions and people who are bigger than me and just forces that are more powerful than me, I feel like I'm falling out of that plane. But I realize comfort is overrated because being quiet is comfortable. Keeping things the way they've been is comfortable. And all comfort has done is maintain the status quo. So we've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable by speaking these hard truths when they're necessary. And
We learn the best when we operate at the edge of our abilities and a little bit outside of our comfort zone. The truth is, I could go in for a few hours about what that looks like and how we can do that. But today I want to zoom in on sort of an underrated angle, which is, why do we hate getting out of our comfort zone? I think if you dig into the research of learning and development, it's pretty clear that one of our biggest hurdles to become a great learner is fear. The fear of looking bad, the fear of the unknown, the fear of messing up. That's a huge reason we definitely prefer it in our comfort zone. The good news is anybody can learn to beat fear. That's a skill that any of us can develop. But the way that we do that is much different than you might think. My intent today is very straightforward. It's just to bridge the gap between what the science says about fear and how we normally think about it and talk about it. First, we need to talk about where fear comes from. It's actually wired in. And it comes from a region of our brain called our amygdala. And some people call this our lizard brain. It doesn't really matter what you call it. We know a few things about this. First, everybody has an amygdala. It lives right by our brain stem. It's about the size of 2 almonds. It's there for survival. It's there to keep us alive. And one of its most common tactics to keeping us alive is it generates fear to steer us away from danger. Which is why if we're at a baseball game and the batter accidentally throws their bat and it's flying into the crowd, most people duck. That's our lizard brain at play. It's quick and reactive. It detects a threat, generates fear, we duck. It's also why I can walk around the edge of this dot and I feel perfectly fine, because it's about 2 centimeters high. If this was 150 feet high, I would be freaking out right now. That's my lizard brain generating fear, saying, dude, get away from the edge of the cliff. Our lizard brain is great at its job. However, there's a bit of a glitch to the system. The glitch is our amygdala doesn't really know the difference between the good challenges and the dangerous ones in life. And it doesn't know the difference between the good and bad risks. So its tactic is really to just avoid them altogether. There are 4 sort of triggers that really enhance and create fear: uncertainty, attention, change, and struggle. The idea here is if these 4 elements are present, fear will be present. Now, I think we can all agree that those 4 elements could absolutely describe a dangerous situation. But they're also present in the best learning opportunities as well. They're present when we perform and compete in art and music. Learning involves lots of these things. And again, if these 4 elements are present, fear will be present. And more times than not, when we feel fear, we find a way to avoid doing the thing, which is excellent when it comes to danger, but not ideal for learning. So yes, this keeps us safe from bats flying at our head, but this is also why we don't like to ask and answer questions in a group. Think about it. If I called on you and you raised your hand to speak up and give an answer, what happens? Most of the people in the room go, phoom, and they look at you. You have attention. There's also some uncertainty at play. It might be the wrong answer or a dumb question. With uncertainty and attention comes fear. More times than not, we don't ask the question. We call that the lizard won the battle. This small little moment would challenge us and stretch us out of our comfort zone. We feel fear, we don't ask. We've all been there. This is why back in the day you had a paper due in 2 weeks. What day would you write the paper? Night before, same, every time. Procrastination in a big way is coming from the lizard brain, because every day leading up to the due date, we have a choice to sit down and do the research and write, or watch Netflix. Which one do you think my lizard wants? Netflix. But let's talk about why. Through the eyes of the lizard, the world is black and white. It doesn't really know what we're doing. In its eyes, it's either I could struggle right now or not struggle. It's always going to choose to not struggle. Another tactic I do, I call it downgrading the struggle. Like, rather than writing a new article on my website, I'll vacuum my house 3 times. I'm staying busy, but I'm choosing the option that involves less struggle, uncertainty, attention, or change. This is why I wake up in the morning and say, I am definitely going to cook a healthy meal tonight. And then I work all day, and I'm driving home, feeling tired, and my car does this really weird thing. It sees the Chipotle and goes, scoot, and pulls in. That's my lizard brain at play. In that moment, I'm presented a choice. I could have something salty, fatty, and delicious right now. Or go to the store, buy the ingredients, go home and prepare them. Which one do you think my lizard wants? Chipotle with extra guac. Now, I want to be clear that the tactic of taking what we can get and getting it now, choosing easy over hard, instant gratification, that is excellent back in the day for survival when we didn't know when our next meal was going to be. It's great to keep us out of danger. But we're playing a different game now, but the software is the same. This is also why giving this talk is way harder than the one I did last night in my hotel room. This is also why we've all been in our basement watching TV for a couple hours, and we know for a fact there are no monsters in the basement. But then you turn the TV off, and you turn the lights off, and then you walk upstairs like this. That's our lizard brain. Think about that. We know nothing's in the basement. But as soon as it's dark, the lizard goes, I'm gone. It's kind of funny to joke about, but the problem is that's the force that's driving lots of our behavior. That's the force that's making lots of our decisions. I guess what I'm getting at is the tactic of avoiding uncertainty, attention, struggle, and change is great if we're in danger, but most of our life is spent not really in danger. And in this case, that tactic really robs us of amazing opportunities to grow. So the question I asked is, how do you kill the lizard brain? His response changed my life. He said, I'm thrilled you asked the question that way, because that is exactly the wrong question. That if you're seeking to destroy, defeat, conquer the lizard brain, you will fail. Your brain is nothing but a chemistry experiment. It's electricity and chemicals. And when you push back on the lizard brain, when you try to bargain and reason with the lizard brain, it freaks out, it inflames. You cannot win. But what you can do is dance with the lizard brain. What you can do is realize that our lizard brain is a compass. And then when it freaks out, it's telling you that you're onto something, that you're about to do something that's brave and bold and powerful, and that we should listen to it by doing the opposite of what it wants us to do.
Yeah, like if there was one concept that I would suggest to people to take a daily confrontation with, is fear. The problem with fear is that it lies, right? So fear tells you, hey, you know, if you say that to that girl, she's gonna know she has you, you know, and she'll never really be attracted to you if she knows how much you attracted to her. Don't say that, no. How we get her is when she walks by, ignore her.
Right, it's a
You know, it's like
pop it on your shoulder.
Fear tells you dumb shit like that, right? You know, so you know, for me, the daily confrontation with fear has become a real practice for me since about three years ago. I went skydiving in Dubai, right? And skydiving is a really interesting confront with fear, right? So I gotta stand up. I'm sorry, I gotta stand up. All right. So all your friends, what happens? You go out. I dropped my thing. Yeah. So what happens is you go out the night before and you take a drink with your friends, and somebody says, "Yeah, we should go skydiving tomorrow." And you go, "Yeah, we'll go skydiving tomorrow." Yeah. And you go, "Yeah," and everybody goes, "Yeah," right? And you go home by yourself. You're like, right? And you're like, well, I mean, they was drunk too. Right, so maybe they not, maybe, I mean, we don't have to go. We don't have to do it. So then that night you're laying in your bed and you just keep, and you're terrified. You keep imagining over and over again jumping out of an airplane, and you can't figure out why you would do that, right? And you're laying there and you have the worst night's sleep of your life, but you still have the hope that your friends were drunk, right? So you wake up the next day and you go, down and you say where you were going to meet and everybody's there. You're like, oh, shit. All right, cool. Right? So you get in the van and you don't know that your friends had the same night that you had because they're pretending like they didn't. They're like, yeah, man, my uncle's a Navy SEAL and, this is going to be great. I've been looking forward to this. And you're like, oh, my God. And your stomach is terrible. You can't eat and everything, but you don't want to be the only punk who doesn't jump out of this airplane. So you get there And then you have this safety brief. And you're standing there, and the guys would say, well, if the chute doesn't open, what's going to happen is well, why the hell, what could happen? That the chute wouldn't open, right? So you do a thing, and what you do is your first jump, you're attached to a guy who is going, he's going to walk you out. So you go, and you get there, and there's an airplane, and nobody's stopping. Everybody's still going. So you get onto the airplane, and you're sitting there, and it's extra because you're sitting on some dude's lap, some stranger. You're sitting on his lap, and it's like, trying to make small talk. Yeah, man. So you be jumping with people all the time, huh? Right? So, and then you just want to make sure, you got kids, right? You got people you need to see, right? You just want to make sure he's serious, right? So you get in there, so everything's normal. So you fly, and you go up to 14,000 feet, and you notice there's a light. It's red, and it's yellow and green, right? So right now the light's red. So then you start thinking at some point the light's going to go green, but you don't know what's going to happen, right? And you wait, and it goes yellow, and the light goes green, and somebody opens the door, and in that moment you realize you've never been in a freaking airplane with the door open. Right? Terror. Oh, sorry, I'm spitting. Oh, sorry. No, terror. Right? So you go, and then, if you were smart, you sat in the back so you don't go first, right? And then people start going out of the airplane. And you go, and the guy walks you up to the end of the thing, and you're standing, and your toes are on the edge, and you're looking out down to death. And they say, on 3. And they say, 1, 2, and he pushes you on 2 because people grab on 3, right? Right? And you go, and you fall out of the airplane, and in 1 second, you realize that it's the most blissful experience of your life. You're flying, right? It doesn't feel like falling, right? It's like you actually are kind of held a little bit by the wind, and then you start falling, and there's zero fear. You realize that the point of maximum danger is the point of minimum fear. It's bliss. It's bliss, and you're flying, right? And you're doing that, and then 20 seconds, 25 seconds, 40 seconds, and you have enough time to just kind of be like, oh, shit, that's that building. I like that one. Oh, you can see the ocean. Right? You start doing all of that, and the lesson for me was, why were you scared in your bed the night before? What do you need that fear for? Just don't go. Why are you scared in your bed 16 hours before you jump? Why are you scared in the car? Why could you not enjoy breakfast? What did you need that? The fear is fear of what? You're nowhere even near the airplane. Everything up to the stepping out, there's actually no reason to be scared. It only just ruins your day. You don't have to jump. And then in that moment, all of a sudden, where you should be terrified is the most blissful experience of your life. And God placed the best things in life on the other side of terror. On the other side of your maximum fear are all of the best things in life. Mm-hmm. So that was sorry. So that was good. That was my experience with skydiving and fear.
All right. I looked down. All the buildings and roads are buried in heavy fog. There is only one voice in my head. I can't do this. So I turn around and tell them that I want to quit. And then I see a huge quote printed on the glass window right next to me. Life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. I don't know why, but this short yet powerful sentence gives me the final push, and before I realize it, I walk straight back to the platform and jump off the world's highest bungee platform. During the 5 seconds of free fall, I remember thinking to myself, it's not as scary as it looks. And that thought led to a whole new world. Every time I hear the voice of fear in my head, I can't leave this job because I'm not going to find anything better. I'm scared of entering a new relationship because I don't want to be hurt again. And even a minute ago, before I walked onto the stage, the voice was repeating in my head. Every time I hear that voice, I take a deep breath and tell myself, it's never as scary as it looks. Let me take you back to the summer of 2007. A remote village in Cambodia, a small room in a domestic violence victim center. It's my first day of work. I walked into a room and was introduced to an 18-year-old girl. Her name was Chia. Chia was so emotionally, physically abused that she was trembling all the time and she couldn't even look at me in the eyes. And on her face, I saw fear, anxiety, and shame. And that day, Chia refused to take our help and went back to her husband. And in the course of the next few months, she would do that again and again, only come back with more bruises and cuts. Chia knew that she should leave her husband, but she was scared to because she had been married to him since 14, depended on him for survival, and did not know that she could live a life on her own. To help Chia, and thousands of other girls like Chia, I started a vocational skill training program. After 3 months of training, magic happened. Chia regained confidence and dignity, stepped out of the fear of failure, found a new job in a local hotel, and separated with her husband. She started a new chapter of life at the edge of her comfort zone. Chia might be an extreme example, but I can see myself in her, and maybe you can too. What is it that you're not doing because of fear of failure? Finding a new job, starting a new company, or asking someone out for a date? For me, it was the fear of public speaking. Whatever it is, I encourage you to try it because as Chia found, and I found, and I think you will find too, it's never as scary as it looks. And you're stronger and more capable than you thought.
Okay, here's the deal. If you want to be successful, here's the thing you have to do. You have to jump. There is no way around it. You have to jump. Every successful person has jumped. You got to jump. You got to take a leap of faith. You got to dash off that cliff and you got to jump out there as far as you can. Now, a lot of times you stand on the cliff of life and you see other people soaring by, gliding down like a bird flying through the air. You know, they going over to the south of France. You see them on a boat somewhere. You see their family vacationing here, their family vacationing there. You see them dressing like this. You see them in New York, then you see them in London. They flying by. You know why? It's because their parachute open. But the only way to get your parachute to open so you can soar, you got to jump. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem, my friends. When you jump, I can assure you one thing. You listening? I promise you this. Your parachute will not open right away. No, that's the fear part. I promise you your parachute will not open right away. You're gonna hit them sides of them rocks. You're gonna tear your back out on them cliffs. You're gonna cut yourself. You're gonna get wounded. You're gonna get some tears and stuff like that. But eventually, the parachute will open and you'll be soaring. But here's the other caveat. Let me teach you this right here. If you do not jump, I promise you one thing, your parachute will never open. So you're safe, but you'll never soar. You got to jump.